No. Is there a train or something?
I remember free that. Ooh, golly.
A very young Richard Adams, isn't it?
Oh, you don't look a day older.
Sorry? No, this is a completely new one on me.
Oh, really? Hello, what's your name?
Oh, hello, my name is Aldo Galli.
And are these your paintings here, Aldo?
Yeah, these are my pictures for the 40th anniversary edition of Watership Down.
How many paintings in total did you do for the book?
21 pictures went in the book, so it's just been released last week.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
It's just in the States, so I understand.
It's just, yes, it's an American edition, unfortunately.
Is there plans to do one in the UK?
Well, not as far as I know, or not yet. We'll see. Maybe in the future, who knows?
How long ago did you start painting Watership Down pictures?
How long?
How long ago did you start doing the paintings?
Oh, well, it's a long time. I met Richard the first time in 2007, and then it evolved slowly from there until Richard decided to ask his publishers if they were interested into putting the pictures in the book. And then, yes, then they carried on from there. Yes.
And did you tailor some of them for like collaboration with Richard about what sort of paintings to do?
Oh yes, I discussed every single canvas with Richard Adams, and we went through all the passages that refer to every single picture. So, yes, definitely.
And did all 22 of the paintings appear in the book?
Yes, they do. They all appear in the book. Yes.
And most of them are here today, are they?
These are the largest canvases, and well, impressive ones. And then we didn't have a space to display all the others, but yes, there are another 15 around. I had this book when I was a child, and I always loved the story. But I never knew that Watership Down was a real place until I moved to the UK, and I just found out. So that's how the whole story began.
Oh, so when did you first read his book? When did you first read Watership Down?
When I was in Italy, when I was a child, yes. It was an Italian version of the picture book, yes.
And one of the reasons you came to the UK?
Well, I forgot about it, to be honest. I didn't remember, and it just happened that I saw some rabbits, and that reminded me of his book when I went looking for it, and then the whole story came together.
Is there a particular style that you use for doing your paintings?
Well, I did some training courses in American painting technique with oils, and then I adjusted to my needs, and I developed my own style from there. Yes.
And are you a teacher of the style as well?
Yes, I do. I do run painting classes in the Bob Ross wet and wet technique.
We're here with Aldo Galli and Richard Adams. Welcome to Whitchurch again, Aldo, and you're already living here, aren't you, Richard? What brings you here today? Why are you here today?
Today, we're signing books and enjoying the sunshine.
And what is it you have in front of yourself here? Is this a new edition of the book?
I don't know if it's American, this, and I gather it's only come out quite recently, but it's already selling in America and sort of managed to drift its way over here. I hope it'll sell. The more we can sell, the more it helps him.
Oh, thank you.
This is a very, very talented young man, I'd have you know. He's a splendid illustrator, a very fine painter.
These are some of his works behind you, aren't they?
Yeah.
These are the pictures that appear in the book.
Yes, that's right.
Do you feel that the pictures really represent the things that you had in your head when you wrote the book?
I think so, yes. Yes, I think so. I've certainly got no complaints about his methods of illustration.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, we discussed all the paintings.
A beautiful picture of General Woodward somewhere in here, but you couldn't think it was anybody else.
Yes, well.
Oh yes, that's nice, isn't it?
That's a nice.
Yeah, that's very typical of his work, but the original is big.
And there it is right behind you, actually.
It's just behind you. You can't see it, but it's behind you.
Could you give me a little bit of a background? I'm sure you've told this story many times. What's the background to writing the Watership Down book?
Well, I originally told the story to my two little girls, and a serial bedtime story, but it continued in long car journeys. And when it was all finished, young Juliet said, "You ought to write that down, Daddy, it's too good to waste." Well, I resisted for some time because I had a lot of work to do in the civil service where I was working at the time. But in the end I did give way and I wrote it down. And then they said, "Well, you ought to try it on a publisher." Well, it was rejected, believe it or not, by 6 publishers. 6 publishers said, "No. I'll tell you what they said. They all said the same thing. They said older children wouldn't like it because it's about rabbits, which they think is babyish, and younger children wouldn't like it because it's written in far too adult a style." So I said, I'm not really thinking about children at all. It's simply a book. Anybody can buy it." And then they said, "Well, what age group is it aimed at, Mr. Adams?" And I said, "Well, sort of 8 to 88, you know."
Was it the first book that you had written?
Oh, no. My first book was, good gracious me, I can't remember now. I had written at least one book before this, but naturally this is the one I like because it's been so very successful. You can't help being taken in by success.
Do you know how many books in total you've written?
I've published about 6 books altogether. They're probably acknowledged in here somewhere. But my favourite is one that nobody else much likes. It's called Shardik. It's about a gigantic bear which is adopted as a god by a savage tribe, and the adventures that follow from that. And it's an entirely created world. The whole world is imaginary. I made it all up myself, and naturally I like it very much. The thing is imaginary, not just the story, but the characters and the landscape. Everything is all from in here. That's why I like it best. Watership Down, of course, has a very real landscape. The Basingstoke Downs south of Newbury. Anybody can go there, and they do. They go in droves to have a look at it. But, well, if you haven't read Shardik, read it.
I understand you were also involved in trying to save some of Watership Down area that's in the book. Weren't they going to put housing on a particular area near Newbury?
Sandalford.
What's it called, Aldo?
Sandalford.
Yes, there is an application, I understand, for planning permission, not covering the whole of the Watership Down site, but a fair bit of it, a chunk, the whole of the southern part of it, like would they're planning to build on. And it would be disastrous because it would alter the whole character of the rural landscape. It's a lovely rural landscape. But once they start building on it, well, I've seen it so often myself when I was working in the ministry. If you let one bit go of a nice rural area, before you know where you are, they're building more and more and more. I'm afraid that if they allow this chunk, it'll go right on down to the Enbourne River, and that would be a real loss.
You mentioned about your work at the ministry. What work were you involved in when you worked for the government? What were you doing?
Oh, well, when I was finishing my time at Oxford after the war, there was only 2 possibilities, really, that I could hope to get with my degree was in history. And there are about 2 things you could do with that. You could join the civil service, or you could go into teaching. Well, I didn't reckon I'd be much good at teaching, somehow. Anyway, the civil service was offering a lot more money. And so I just had a shot at the entry exam, and to my great surprise, I was offered a post in the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. So I took that on. That was in 48, when I was only 28 years old. I did 5.5 years war service. But,
Where did you serve when you were in the war?
in the war,
In the war,
I was in 1st Airborne Division. I was a parachutist. But I never parachuted against the Germans. I rather wish I had, but I might not be here if I had. No.
So, but you have been doing some parachuting earlier in your life, or that was the first time you got to do parachuting?
The first time.
Was that your first time when you joined the regiment?
Oh yes. You see, you could join airborne forces like that, but that didn't necessarily mean you were going to parachute. you might be glider-borne into action, or you might simply be on the seaborne tail, as it was called, that follows up. When the division jumps, you see, the seaborne tail, its heavy lorries and stuff, follow it up. So if you join airborne forces, you've got about one chance in 5, I should think, of becoming a parachutist. And you've got to volunteer to be a parachutist. You don't have to volunteer to be glider-borne. So anyway, I did this in the war because I was so browned off. After Dunkirk, nothing happened for about 4 years, as you probably know. And a lot of people got so browned off just sitting there that they volunteered for anything that was going. I volunteered for airborne forces and found myself being asked whether I would like to parachute. So I thought, well, I'd better say yes. Actually, parachuting isn't very frightening. You've only got to do what you're told. And you can shut your eyes anyway.
How many times do you think you've jumped?
I did 10 jumps altogether, 8 in training and 2 more commanded by the brigadier. Brigadier used to say anyone who wants to go on leave has got to do a jump first. But I know it sounds awfully daredevil parachute jumping, but it isn't really. You've only got to do what you're told.
When was the last time that you did do a jump? Was it many years ago or recently?
Oh, last jump was in about 46.
Ah.
I was demobbed in 46. And if you join airborne forces, you don't necessarily spend all your days parachuting. One reason is that the aeroplanes are simply not available. And having joined airborne forces and said I wanted to jump, I only did 2 more jumps. But, it isn't really frightening. There's thousands of people who jump today. I mean, schoolgirls and black chaps, all sorts of people.
What brings you to Whitchurch? You live in this area for a long time?
Well, it was my dear wife who found the wonderful house in Whitchurch that we're living in at the moment. We were both of us born and brought up at Newbury, a village called Wash Common, outside.
Actually, I was born in London, not Hendon.
Is that where you met? Did you meet in London as well?
She was the girl next door.
Oh, yeah, at Newbury.
Oh, you met in Newbury?
Yes, our families live next to each other.
So it truly is the girl next door.
I took one look at her and I thought, well, people are not going to let a girl like that go begging for very long, such a pretty girl as that. So I moved in and did what I could. But she was very young, she's only just 17. It was more than 2 years before we were able to get married. But we spent those 2 years in walking over the Berkshire, Hampshire countryside. And I remember a psychiatrist I knew, he said, you don't know what an asset you have in a girl who can walk beside you all day. She'd do 20 miles with anybody. And it's been a completely happy relationship from start to finish.
Do you have children?
Oh, yes.
How many?
We had 2 girls.
Congratulations.
They were both married and each got three children. 5 girls and a boy, grandchildren.
Oh, well, congratulations. Do they still live in the UK, or have they spread their wings and...
No, they're still in the UK mostly, aren't they? Dad?
Yep.
They still live in the UK, don't they?
Yes, certainly.
Nobody's moved on to America yet. Not permanently.
Are you married?
I am indeed, with 2 children of my own.
Well, you'd agree with me then that there's the greatest asset you can hope to have is a happy marriage.
Absolutely. And it looks like you have, from age 17 to, what are you now, 50? You look gorgeous. Are you really? Richard, how old are you now?
How old am I? 92.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Now you have to say I don't look it.
You don't look it at all. One more last question. I understand you really have a love for Shakespeare, is that right?
I have a passion for Shakespeare. Shakespeare is what I do really more than anything else. Whenever there's a Shakespearean production in London, I go to it if I can possibly get there. And Stratford-on-Avon is a good place, of course, too, to see a bit of Shakespeare. Although Stratford's only rep, you know. You don't get high-powered people at Stratford, but they do good rep every summer. And I like going to Stratford. It's a delightful place.
What is your favorite from Shakespeare?
My favourite?
Your favorites?
Now, I'd have to think carefully about that. Everybody thinks I'm going to say Hamlet, but I don't know. Let me see.
It doesn't have to be one.
Perhaps Twelfth Night is such a wonderful play. It's so happy. I prefer it to the tragedies, which are so miserable. I think if I had to choose one, it would be Twelfth Night.
Do you have a sonnet or a verse that you remember?
Do you want me to have a go?
Yeah, have a go.
Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediment. Love is not love that alters where it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his fabled compass coming come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out, even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. It's a nice sonnet, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely. Richard Adams, Aldo Galli, thank you.
And they say to me, well, a day when I go, I will like to be on my Watership Down and be there, forever, like a ghost, they say. Well, not to scare anyone, a nice one, a friendly ghost. And I say to him, well, okay, then, well, I can do something about it if you like. I can add your image. I'm just about to paint Watership Down, so I can put you there between the clouds. And he said, yeah, well, okay, so yeah, I had it's just a very faint image. But yeah, I put him there, looking down, and he's Watership Down. And
Can you show me?
yeah, is this picture?
This long one.
Yeah, it's the long one. He's just looking down at Watership.
I see him.
Faint image.
I see him.
Yeah, you found it.
And that's in the book too. Did he spot it? Has he spotted it?
No. Well, I show him, but he's trying to use a magnifier to see it, and it's a bit blur for him because it's a very faint image. It's not meant to be, to
Stand out. It's supposed to be subtle.
No, it's something that you need to find, something disguised in the clouds.
That's just lovely.
That's my tribute to Richard and what he found.
What is the world, O soldiers? It is I, this incessant cold, this northern sky, soldiers, this solitude through which we go is I. That's all, couldn't be better.
Bravo!